Yeah.
So, I want to thank you all for joining us this morning here for a celebration of life for Gerry Harman. Can we start with the serenity prayer, please? The alcoholic still suffers in and out of these rooms. God,
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
thank you. Well, guys, I want to thank you all, first of all, for being here. I've never done this before. I'm just doing this from what I know of Gerry and what I could do to honor his memory. He was a big part of my life. I knew him for a short time, but with his sobriety time, his 38 years of sobriety, he showed me a lot. He lived with me for almost 5 months, and talk about patience and tolerance. You know, you have to be understanding, you have to be accepting, and he would always remind me to just stop and pause. What are you not doing that you should be doing? What are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? And he just reminded me of that on a constant basis. So I want to take the opportunity to welcome all the sober alcoholics, including Bruce, to another day of paradise. It tells me I have one more day sober. It's my number one priority. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. Gerry was born March 9th, 1937 in Chicago. He was born to Ruth and Aaron Harman, his mom and dad. He spoke a lot about his dad. His dad worked in the laundry business, and he spent his days running up and down buildings and collecting laundry and bringing it back, and he was also a tailor, that's what I understand. So he spoke very highly of both his mom and his dad. Whenever he would say something about washing his hands or doing something that's polite, he always said, "My mom taught me, my mother taught me." So he was a mama's boy, I can tell you that for sure. I think we had that in common. He had one sister, her name was Shayna, and he also had 2 children. He had a son by the name of Lance and a daughter, Marcy. And both are still with us in spirit here today. Gerry got his sobriety date September 10th of 1985. He lived a life of, it seemed to me that he was a very paranoid man, because I heard that when he first came in these doors, he carried a gun and a knife in his boot. And it took him a while to give that up. And they asked him, what's the deal? And he said, what are you scared about? He said, these people in this room. And you guys can elaborate more on that stuff, but he from what I understand from his story, he told me he was in a gym and he had been talking to this person about his adventures. And he said, gee, Gerry, do you think you might have a problem with drugs and alcohol? And that was in 1985, and that's where it started. That person, his name was Dick Pacina. Dick became his sponsor, and it seems like from the pictures and the things that I've heard, they were close for quite a while. He'd come out here and they'd ride motorcycles. He was a motorcycle enthusiast as well. Gerry, one thing that we really had in common that we clicked with was 2 things. One, we're both hoarders. And number 2, we love cars, car parts, mufflers, transmissions. We hit it off. Once he saw that I had a trailer to haul cars, it was on. And then I realized, you're keeping the cars because he has no place to put them. And it was this little chase of finding another space to put another car. That's what he lived for. He told me, this is what keeps my mind sharp. That whole time he was staying with us, I try to put 1 day a week aside for him because he enjoyed getting on Craigslist, bugging people. He'd drive people crazy about a price. And then he'd have a list of places we were going to go on either Tuesday or Wednesday to buy tires, rims, parts. A month before this man died, we bought about 12 tires. And just like everything else, we took it to the backyard, we just started another pile. But that's what kept Gerry happy. That's what he lived for. He just enjoyed bargaining with people. In his professional life, he managed car dealerships. Now imagine Jerry, trying to negotiate with Jerry on car, on insurance. I can imagine, so that made him a very successful man in that field. And from what I've heard, he retired from that. And when he came out here to Bullhead, he first came from Winnemucca, Nevada. And that's where he owned a pawn shop at one time. He came down here to Laughlin. Actually, he moved into Laughlin first, stayed there for a year or two, then he came over to Bullhead. And that's where he ended up down here on Harbor Drive. Over at Harbor Drive, I'm sure you might hear today about some people that had the opportunity to work for Gerry. He had a pile of rocks. And my understanding was that when people needed work, they would get to move the rocks. And these rocks for years went from one corner of the yard to the other corner of the yard. The next guy showed up, moved to the other corner of the yard. And you were lucky to get $10 and a sandwich. That's the way it worked. It was for discipline. It was, are you going to do what you're told to do? So I had this notion one day of asking if I should have Rabbi as my sponsor. And someone said to me, he asks a lot of the sponsors. So right there, I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm doing as much as I can. I really did enjoy talking to him. We had what Rita would describe as fights. I called them heated discussions at the dinner table, after the dinner table. And you know what? That man surprised me because he'd stand up and say, I love you, and give me a hug. So he would let it drop right there. And, he had his ways about him. That's for sure. So, other than that, I want you guys to share. You guys probably had more time with him than I have. Right now, that's all I've got on my mind. Other than to say, if you look around, you'll see some of these little cards that he had, that he used to pass out. I found them on his desk. And they say, another day in paradise, good orderly direction. Gerry lived the program. And he was, from what I could hear, he was a very generous man with people that needed help. When he got sick, he literally left a jack and a tire and tools on the street in front of his house. And I thought, that would be gone. That shit sat out there for 10 days. Nobody touched the thing. And people that would come by and ask, where's Gerry? Is Gerry okay? They all said, we're going to look out. So I can tell you that month after month after month, nobody ever took a thing from Gerry. Nobody took a thing from his yard. Neighbors, people that would just walk by, respected Gerry, they all said he helped a lot of people. I heard that over and over again from people. That guy helped a lot of people. So I just want to honor Gerry, thank him for the knowledge that he gave me, and that's all I've got. Wonderful. Who would like to share?
I'm Brent, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Brent.
And I asked Gerry to be my sponsor when I was 4 years sober. I hit a bottom in my sobriety when I was 4 years sober, and I was having a lot of Al-Anon issues. And he saw me and how I was, and my ex-wife was still drinking and using all the time, and there was always chaos and drama going on in my house. And I was having a son that I was raising, and she was basically an absent parent because she was so drunk all the time, and messed up, and mental illness, and just the whole gamut that was going on inside my brain and inside my home. And the thing that I wanted to be a good dad. And I never really had, my father was pretty much, my parents divorced when I was 5, and so I really didn't have a role model in my life. So I kind of made Gerry my role model. And every year at Christmas time, he would buy me clothes because he saw the way. Because I was just my clothes. I was never, when I walked in here, even before I asked him to be my sponsor, I didn't know where these clothes were coming from. He dropped clothes on my car at my house, and I didn't know where they were coming from until he was my sponsor. But he was a good role model for me. 15 years